With threats to our nation waiting around every corner, adaptability is more important than ever. When conditions change without notice, quick strategic thinking is crucial. And with obstacles consistently impending, determination is essential in overcoming them. It's this willingness, decisiveness, and resilience that sets Marines apart. With our fighting spirit, we don't just fight battles, we win them. Marines are the constant our nation counts on to fight the unknown. And through adaptable problem solving, we do just that. Learn more at marines.com.
It's only a kick, a jump, a block. It's only a serve. It's only a tackle, a run. It's only for the fans. After all, it's only pressure. You got this. Adidas.
I'm Alex Rodriguez.
And I'm Jason Kelly.
From Bloomberg, this is The Deal. Each week, you'll hear us in conversation with business icons.
This show will explore deal-making across sports, media, and entertainment.
That is a harsh lesson in business.
Sports is not as simple as bringing a bunch of big names together.
I didn't want to do another stomp you out speech.
It opened up so many more doors.
The show is called The Deal.
Listen to The Deal.
Listen to The Deal on Spotify.
Why take one vacation with the family when you could take all of them? With Royal Caribbean, you don't just go to the beach. You visit a private island and race down the tallest water slide in North America. You don't just go for a road trip. You ATV and zip line through the jungle. You don't just go somewhere new. You rappel down waterfalls and discover ancient temples. Because this isn't just any vacation. This is all the vacations. Come seek the Royal Caribbean. Ships Registry, Bahamas.
Welcome back, Ram fans. This is Rams Up, your favorite LA Rams podcast. We are proud members of the Fans First Sports Network. That's fansfirstsports.com. You can also follow us on YouTube. Our channel is at LA Rams Up. I'm your host, Mark. You'll hear from my co-host, Tom, on occasion as well. Hey, we're not Rams insiders. We're just longtime fans who love talking about our Los Angeles Rams. Let's get to it. Hey, welcome back, everybody. Mark from Rams Up here, and you guessed it, I got Paul Walia back again. How's it going, Paul?
Fantastic. Having a great time out here on the East Coast. Excited to see the Rams prospects as things are shaping up in the draft in the Rams' favor.
Yeah, there's some good things happening, and we'll talk about that a little bit. And I think you're referring to quarterbacks shooting up the board. The more quarterbacks taken in front of that 19th pick, the better for the Rams, right?
Absolutely.
And there is a minority out there. I've seen mock drafts with the Rams taking Bo Nix and Michael Penix. Mm-hmm. And my argument is, if the Rams were to draft one of those guys, my reaction would be McVay found his quarterback of the future, because I think McVay knows quarterbacks. But I don't know if that's a player, either one of those players are going to help us win a Super Bowl this year. And that should be our objective, right?
There's two ways you could look at that. So the advantage of taking a quarterback right away, obviously to build for the future, you also have that rookie contract for 3 to 4 years. If they sit for 1 year, the advantage of the rookie contract is now reduced to 2 to 3 years, correct? So that's like one way to sort of look at it. So if you were going to, let's say, the rumors from last year that they were shopping Stafford, which I don't really believe, but if they were, don't really understand that. Well, how and why? So that way you can maximize the 4 years or 3 years that you have that rookie contract. So that's, two ways to look at the possibility of taking a quarterback early. Me personally, I think Stafford has more than a year left in the tank. I think he is a championship caliber quarterback. I think the Rams have legitimately 3 shots at it with Staff.
What we're going to do today is something a little bit different. We're afraid you're all getting burnt out on 7-round mock drafts. So we're calling this our multi-mock or multi-mocking the Rams. And what we're going to do is go through the first 3 rounds. We're going to go through it 3 or 4 times, see how long it takes, try to keep this under an hour. And the last time we may do some trading. Paul has a trade in mind, but we're going to start out by taking a different approach each time. And we'll limit it to the first 3 rounds, so 4 players, and each time a different approach, and then we'll compare the results. And that's kind of what this is all about anyways, right?
Absolutely. And the rationale is, as Mark and I were talking, is that as these quarterbacks are getting overvalued, as of right now, and I would agree with a lot of what the quote unquote draft experts are saying, is that it looks like legitimately there are going to be 5 quarterbacks taken in round 1, early in round 1. So within the first 15 picks, 5 quarterbacks. So that's 5 players that are going to get pushed down towards the Rams. Rams sitting pretty at 19. If you do the math, then you could start taking a look at those 14 players, remove the quarterbacks, then take your top 14 players, and there you go. That puts wide receiver at play for the Rams. That puts offensive tackle at play for the Rams. That puts edge at play for the Rams, defensive tackle, of course. And we have done it where Iron Byron has fallen to the Rams at 19 very consistently. So this has changed the complete makeup of what the Rams were looking at 19 from when we started doing the mocks, like how many drafts ago, right? So we're up to mock 10, right? So there's been a huge shift. And I think it's going to work in the Rams' favor. I think the Rams are in the driver's seat at 19, whether they stand put or move back. I think the Rams can move back a little, not a great deal. I think they can move back 5 or 6 spots and still walk away with the player that they absolutely wanted from day one.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people on the YouTube channel commenting and elsewhere I've seen, move up, move up, move up. You look at that draft value chart and, moving up to number 12 or 13, it's going to cost you. And I just don't know that it's worth it. So let's get this rolling. I'll add this draft to the stage. And so we're just making those first 4 picks. And Paul, you'll be making the picks. I'll be throwing my 2 cents worth in. And again, we're going to ideally, we do this 3 or 4 times and we'll never pick the same player twice, except maybe perhaps when we get to that draft scenario, but not trading the first 3 times. I would think that we're not taking the same player twice in any of those drafts unless it just falls out really weird. Okay.
Right, so we're gonna take a look at which players fall to us because Mark and I have talked about 3 or 4 scenarios, and as we do it, we will explain a little bit of the rationale. We just want to illustrate what's the bang for the buck going in any one particular direction.
Right. Okay. I'm going to let this roll. I have this set on normal speed.
So right off the bat, Mark, what are your thoughts? Do you think, even with the 5 quarterbacks going early, and I took out the 2, I have 3 in my head right off the top, 3 or 4 linemen, that puts us at 9. Then you go wide receiver, 4 wide receiver, that puts us at 13. Do you think Jared Verse legitimately could fall to 19? What are your thoughts?
I think it's possible. Well, let's look at who's gone here. Are there any players that we wouldn't have expected to go that early? Fashanu,
I think
Waga.
There you go. Yeah. So look at
Brian Thomas.
Yeah. Look at that.
Cooper DeJean, probably unrealistic that he'd go before Verse, I would think. I think the 2 surprises would be Latu, Wiggins, and DeJean, and possibly Brian Thomas. It could fall out this way, but if what you're getting at is we should not select Verse because it's unrealistic.
Let's illustrate it with Verse falling. Right? We said that's one of the options. All right, let's give it a shot. Let's do Jared Verse. If this actually happened, this is a no-brainer. The Rams should be all over this.
Yeah, and I still think, if you look at these top 5 guys, I would be thrilled with any one of them. And for those of you listening on the pod, that's Terrion Arnold, Jared Verse, Byron Murphy, J.C. Latham, and Troy Fuatanu. Okay, so we're going to take...
Can you scroll down for a second before you make that pick? I want to show... Ram Nation, everyone at home. So look at the value, as I was saying to Mark, in the lower half of this first round. Take a look at this. So you have Chop Robinson, A.D. Mitchell. Scroll down, very viable for the Rams, both of those. Jordan Morgan. Oh, this is Mark's favorite player, and absolutely, this lad is quite good. McConkey. Look at how far he has risen, Mark. Look at that, 35. But look at Keon Coleman sitting at 37. Look at that. That is bargain territory. It might even fall back a little bit more in round 2. If you go down a little bit, look at Leggett. Go down a little bit more. He should pop up right around. Bang. Look at that. 49. There you go. That 49. Braswell at 48. So there's some really good value going into round 2. And this is really where the Rams can take advantage, TJ. Tampa, because some of those players that are getting overvalued at the wide receiver also extend into there are round 2 wide receivers that are getting overvalued. So let's go with Jared Verse. Let's illustrate this wish scenario.
And if and something to keep in mind, if it wasn't Verse, Latu would be there, probably, right? It'd be one of the two. So for this experiment, substitute Latu for Verse if you don't think Verse is realistic. We'll go ahead and make the selection now.
All right, so we got our left side edge, our right side edge taken care of, right, from last year. Let's see where we can build for. Oh, wow, look at this. This is fantastic. So, so 2 of my favorite players, Kamari Lassiter, the big corner from Georgia, and then you have my buddy Kingsley Suamataia from BYU.
And, Fisk, I think, prior to the Senior Bowl, was probably a 4th-round pick, possibly even lower.
Look at that.
He's quite a prospect. So I don't know how Rams Nation feels, but I still feel like defensive tackle is something that has to be addressed. But for this experiment, you can go a lot of different ways. I know there's some later guys you like as well, but what do you want to do here?
Can you scroll down a little bit more? I want to see the other 2 D tackles where they fall. So you got big corner Tampa, Michael Hall, and Tyler Davis. All right, so off the board, Rook is off the board. Iron Byron is off the board. Let's see hit corner.
And, the thing about the cornerback room, I talked about a little bit on a recent pod, Tre'Davious White is just such a luxury to have because, people are concerned about his health. And, if he gets dinged up a little bit, we're still okay at cornerback, in my opinion. Maybe not elite, but we're still pretty good and deep. So, my concern about adding a cornerback is he may, even one of the top cornerbacks, he's probably going to have to beat out Darius Williams to get on the field. I mean, there's going to be situations where we run 6 guys out there in the secondary, of course, but just a thought.
Yeah. So a couple of things. So there's a lot of value here. So taking a look at your example with White. So let's take a look with White and Williams and how much they got paid, right? Think about that for a second. You're looking at they were averaging about 10 million each, 11 million each. Both and one is with 2 major injuries. He's still getting 10. So getting a big corner at the rate that you can bring in a rookie corner like Lassiter in Tampa, is a real luxury. Mad Max Melton. So young cornerbacks have extraordinary value in the NFL for that reason, because of, number one, the ability to match up with wide receivers, elite wide receivers. So Kamari Lassiter he's just a really special player. If you go hit OT for a second, let's take a look at O-line. Look at that. So this kid, I'm the luxury to be able to say I have my left or right tackle taken care of.
Kingsley Suamataia.
Yeah, the luxury of saying we're going to be picking 19. Hopefully we'll never come up again, right? Let's think about that.
Yeah, so we'll be picking 32nd next year, right? Is that what you're getting at?
Yeah, exactly. So you have a couple of ways to go. I'm going to hit all, and I think so. Having taken care of edge, taking a look at how things are playing out at D tackle really forces our hand. I'm going to go with the one player I think long-term can help the Rams. I'm going to go with Kingsley. I'm going to throw a curveball out there. I'm going to go with Kingsley. And I think this is a move that will pay huge dividends. No matter what happens with Alaric Jackson, he could go to the right side and Kingsley take over at the left side. Either way, we have our replacement for the Havenstein monster, and we have probably a future star in the making at one of the premier positions in the NFL, left tackle.
Yeah,
okay.
And by the way, I meant to mention it when you mentioned Ruku. Is that what we call him?
Roro.
Rook. Oh, man. Anyways, I saw him go in the first round in a recent mock, so he's climbing the boards a little bit too, I think.
Yeah, he's a really popular player.
So we got edge and offensive tackle. That's our approach so far. And what are you thinking here?
Now we're really going to earmark D tackle. Take a look at D tackle.
Oh, I'm lost here. There we go.
There you go. You got Mason. So Mason Smith. So this is one of those drafts where we sort of got shorted, excuse the pun, on left tackle. I'm sorry, at D tackle. You got Mason Smith, the player famous for injuring himself while celebrating at LSU, blew out his knee. Don't know if he's the answer at D tackle. Let's scroll down a little bit. We might have to go to a different direction. Oh, there's a lot of value. Look at that. Tyler Davis, Mekhi Wingo later on. We're in round 3, correct?
Right. And you got to start considering, well, one of these guys be there at 99. We're just doing the 3 rounds, the first 4 picks.
Rounds.
So,
all right. So let's take a look at corner. Take a look at corner. Bingo. There you go. We got our 3 favorites, right? DJ James, Kyrie Jackson, Cam Hart. They're going to be there. Take a look at wide receiver. I know everybody's saying defense. All right, that's light. Nothing impressive there. All right, let's go back to corner. I'm gonna play that hand, and I'm gonna go with last time we took Kyrie Jackson. Let's take Cam Hart. Cam Hart is a great player that fits our system. Bingo. There we go. And this really shows when you go edge early, because the defensive tackle part is so light, you absolutely must go defensive tackle right after it, because there's simply not enough D tackle depth to go into the latter rounds if you want a star player, so to speak. All right, now let's take a look.
Are any of these guys on the board what you'd call potential star players? I wasn't sure if you were saying they are or they are not.
So this is the dilemma. Go hit linebacker for a second. So there's another way we could attack this. Bingo. There goes Jeremiah.
Remember, you're gonna get 2 or 3 more tries at this. So
yeah, absolutely. Interesting how this one played out. Very, very different than what we were expecting. Can you hit my selection so I can see them as a whole in relation to the draft picks? Yes. So look at that. So it actually worked out okay, because at 83, Cam Hart is not a bad pick at all. At 99, you get a lot.
And I think this also suggests what the Rams very often do. You know, if the draft were to break this way and they're not ready, they're not really feeling it for some of the leftover, that's a bad way of putting it, the defensive tackles still on the board, you know, they're on the phone to the remaining free agents that are out there, and they bring on a couple more after the draft, and that's right. Very likely what could happen.
So this to me is still a great draft. No question about it. If you hit edge, you're going to see a player that's actually a D tackle. There it is. Austin Booker, Javon Solomon. Scroll down.
You going to take another edge?
No, I wanted to see if they had. Sometimes they play some of the defensive tackles at edge, like Marshawn Nealon, and Dorless gets placed at edge on this draft engine, not on D tackle. So if you go back onto drafted players, like go to where it says show, yep, scroll down. Dorless. You see that Dorless right there? You see how he's listed as edge? He's actually a tackle. That's what I want to see. You see Nealand up there at 63? Yeah, he's actually listed as edge. He's actually a tackle. The other way we could go is hit safety.
Got a few guys you like here.
I think so. What the Rams could do, so the Rams have room for one more safety. No question about it. They definitely have room for one more safety in the way they're set up is looking right now. They got White, Williams, what's his name? McVay went public threw out Carnell Lake's name, shouted him out in a positive way. That's awesome. Lake is possibly the nickel or a strong safety, right? So either way, how this would shape up is I would probably go Cole Bishop.
Yeah, that's definitely good value there.
And that pairing with Bishop and Curl, woo, man, the Rams would sit back and they would look great. So if you take a look at this, so this one played out really, really well in a non-traditional fashion. You got your star in the making in Jared Verse. You got your star in the making in Kingsley, also contributing to depth on the O-line. He could play guard or tackle, not an issue. Cam Hart is a very underrated corner between what we have. Listen, if you take a look at White, Williams, and then you have behind them Durant, Kendrick, then you have Tomlinson, and then you have, who else is there? Who's number 6? I forget his name. Not Jolly. One of them is getting pushed out, so there is room for one more corner. All that does is give you just exceptional depth and also gives you a great third corner. So I think that this is a great pick. Cam Hart is custom made for the Rams. No question about it. A zone corner. Cole Bishop at this value is just, that's why you see it listed as an A. Cole Bishop is a ringleader. We already sang his praises as a Puka power pick. This would be nice. You have value coming up. The Rams are 150s back to back. Those D tackles that will be sitting there would be more than enough to help the Rams along.
Yeah, I don't know which of the other corner you're thinking about. If it's Duke Shelley, he's a free agent. You got Trey Tomlinson, Darion Kendrick, Kobe Durant, the other safeties. The Cam McCutcheon.
Cam McCutcheon, that's the kid.
Is that who you're thinking of? Okay.
Yeah.
And so what this draft tells me is, and I think it's a reflection of reality. The Rams are not boxed in to do any particular thing. They have a lot of flexibility with the additions they've made. And a lot of people are thinking, we don't need a cornerback. We don't need a safety. Well, there's really no particular position they're really desperate in my opinion, except maybe defensive tackle, which we didn't address here.
When people say that, I use that same argument with the wide receiver room. Remember, Mark, when we were talking about this? They were saying, like, well, why would you go wide receiver? Well, let's stop and reflect upon that, right? Because first of all, this is not Madden, okay? If you look at the Rams wide receiver room, if one of those 3 wide receivers goes down, then Tutu Atwell is your starting third wide receiver. Yeah. After that, you have Ben Skoranek. There's nothing against those 2 receivers, but those 2 receivers are role receivers. Let me point out, the Rams offense did not, we said it right here at the round table. Remember that? Until we said you got to put DeMarcus Robinson into the lineup. Tutu Atwell was not cutting it at wide receiver 3, and it hurt the offense tremendously. So when people say that wide receiver is not a viable option, they are totally missing the boat. It is a viable option because if anything happens to their top 3 wide receivers, this offense is in a really bad place. Same thing with corner. If something happens to one of those 2 starting corners, think about this. We're back to Kendrick in the starting lineup. Now, I can live with Durant, but then what about after Durant? Then you have Kendrick getting a lot more playing time than what he actually deserves. So both of those scenarios, cornerback and also for safety. Safety, the Rams look best when they were in that 2 safety look with Lake at the star. If that's the direction they're going in, then you have room for one more safety. Now, that's not taking anything away from Taylor or Yeast, but Mark, why would we not want to bring in competition to that scenario, particularly with a player of Cole Bishop's caliber?
I'm Alex Rodriguez.
And I'm Jason Kelly.
From Bloomberg, this is The Deal. Each week, you'll hear us in conversation with business icons.
This show will explore deal-making across sports, media, and entertainment.
That is a harsh lesson in business.
Sports is not as simple as bringing a bunch of big names together.
I didn't want to do another stomp you out speech.
It opened up so many more doors.
The show is called The Deal.
Listen to The Deal.
Listen to The Deal on Spotify.
Why take one vacation with the family when you could take all of them? With Royal Caribbean, you don't just go to the beach. You visit a private island and race down the tallest water slide in North America. You don't just go for a road trip. You ATV and zip line through the jungle. You don't just go somewhere new. You rappel down waterfalls and discover ancient temples. Because this isn't just any vacation. This is all the vacations. Come seek the Royal Caribbean. Ships Registry, Bahamas.
Let's start the second one, and we will take a different approach. I'll let you be the driver. I'll get it started. Harrison, Neighbors, Williams, Odunze, Verse, Latu went early. Dejean went early again. McKinstry.
Okay, this makes sense. So now to me, this is realistic because when I did it at home on my own, trying to predict what the other teams would pick, this is usually how it came out. So the wild card is, Mark, when I do it, is Bowers, the tight end from Georgia. If somebody reaches on him early, that really helps the Rams out. And the corners, how quickly they go. So Fashanu is definitely in the ballpark for the Rams, 100%. And I don't even think the Rams were dreaming about this in the beginning of the draft, that Fashanu would fall to them. Brian Thomas is another one. So you know what, Mark? Let's do this. Ram Nation, I'll be very honest with you. If this were to happen like this, if it was me, I'm taking Fashanu. A left tackle, I'm taking it. We played around with left tackle just now, but Fashanu right off the bat. Brian Thomas, the wide receiver, I think this is what the Rams are really playing on, is trying to see. I think a lot of it, what they were doing earlier, was a smoke screen. The Rams letting you know who they wanted to move down for early. That early in the draft, process, to me, that's a smoke screen. I don't think McVay would do that. I don't think Snead would do that.
You mean move up?
Yeah, move up into the top 10 for a wide receiver. To me, that looked like a smokescreen. I think what they're waiting to do is to see which one of these like primetime receivers falls back. All right, and it's going to fall into their lap, and let's see how it plays out. But you know what? Let's carpe diem. Mark, how about we do this? We did one with Murphy. We let everybody at home already see that one. That worked out fantastic. All right, let's do one with one of my favorite players in the draft. Let's do one with Fashanu. And let's see what happens if we take left tackle first.
Now, let me ask you a question. Some people are going to say Fashanu falling to 19 is a pipe dream, but would Fuatanu be a similar player? So it'd be so just like we said, hey, if Verse isn't, if we're talking about which position we're drafting first, if you don't like the idea of Fashanu being there at 19, then in that instance, maybe we just go ahead and take Fuatanu and we have an offensive.
How about do this? Let's do the one that's causing a lot of the controversy. Let's hit Brian Thomas Jr. If he were to fall down, let's see what would happen. Let's do Brian Thomas. Let's do the wide receiver one.
Yeah,
because
that's realistic. That's really
realistic. Let's get that one out of the way. Yep. Let's do Fuatanu. Yep, let's do that one. Brian Thomas Jr. Let's do Brian Thomas Jr. Let's see how it plays out.
And I know there are a lot of fans. I think Ian would be supportive of that pick, although he also thinks Keon Coleman in the second round.
Keon Coleman
would be.
I think Keon Coleman and Leggett are going to fall down a significant number of picks, and I think they're going to be available for the taking much later. And there's Chris Jenkins sitting right there, right where we want him. All right, so we took wide receiver, and this is what I've been doing at home, Mark. Taking wide receiver, trading back, taking wide receiver, and then hitting the D tackles. Let's do it. Let's hit Chris Jenkins.
So
That's
interesting. So interesting. In the second draft, we've taken two positions that we did not take in the first draft.
Absolutely.
We did not hit wide receiver or defensive tackle. So not only are we getting different players, we're getting entirely different positions.
And that was the whole idea, to see the different types of approaches and see how they pay out. The first one had mixed results for a lot of different reasons. Still was a great draft, no question about it. But sort of working with the salary cap in mind and roster fits. Now, not just going for the star potential. So let's take a look how this one works out. There you go. Now you got Brian Thomas, putting him in to that 3 wide receiver mix. Now, how would you like to be a defensive coordinator?
Right. And Kyron Williams. Now, so we got wide receiver, defensive tackle. We haven't hit secondary or offensive line or edge. What are you thinking here?
All right, so let's take a look at what's available. Wow, look at those look at those teams that are looking for a running back in the second round. Look at that. Benson and Brooks. Can you imagine if that actually happened? Wow. All right. Let's scroll down a little bit. Well, look. I'm gonna relax a little bit because this looks really good so far, Mark. What is our third round pick again? We're 80-something, correct?
83.
83. All right. Keep going. You got Dorless. There you go. Keep going. Okay, we're good. Scroll up.
I think your last mock, we took 2 defensive tackles at the top of the draft.
Yep, we did. So can you hit defensive tackle for a second?
I'm not trying to steer you in any particular direction. I'm just...
No, that's fine. hit edge. I'm going to show you what I was talking about over. So, like, for example, in our first draft, my very next pick would have been Tyler Davis after we took the Cole Bishop, and Tyler Davis would have wound up being one of our starting defensive tackles, right? Opposite, he would be on the strong side probably, Conductor going to the weak side, and Bobby Brown at nose tackle. We would have picked up another nose. We would have been in great shape, or a veteran. We still would have been in great shape. So that's why I wasn't so worried. All right, let's take a look at the edge. So edge, take a look. You got Dorless, Adisa Isaac. All right, so Isaac is there. You got Brandon Dorless. If you wanted to take another lineman, he's not an edge. He's a lineman. So they have to stop. The kid's like 278 pounds. He's not an edge. All right, but he's a great player. I think he would be a nice fit. So what do we have? So we took in the first round. We took Brian Thomas. We got Chris Jenkins, hit all. And look, there's another tackle, Patrick Paul. You were mentioning about the left tackle?
Yeah, I had him mocked to the Rams way back when.
Yeah, Patrick Paul. He's got a lot of potential. Let's scroll down a little bit.
Is he the one that's is he the one that's real raw, but they just love his athleticism and his...
They want him to use his extend his arms a little bit more. He's what they call a lot of the tackles that keep their elbows tight, they want him to lock out a little bit more. But a lot of people like him. They love his footwork.
Reminds me. He comes to mind. I don't know if you heard the one review I did. One of the scouts was commenting on one of the edge rushers, and he said, just quit worrying about technique and how well developed they are. Just draft a dude. Just draft a dude. And I think Patrick Paul is one of those dudes.
He's just one of those guys that like once you get him in the room and once you teach him how to do certain things, he's just going to be a star. All right, so let's take a look. Let's scroll down a little bit more. So it's really going to come down to whether we want to do Paul or whether we want to do Adisa Isaac. Really, Adisa Isaac, we need an edge rusher to complement Monster Zero, and I think that's what we should do. I think we should, build on our defense. Let's go edge. Let's go Adisa Isaac.
Adisa Isaac
makes a lot of sense to me.
The consensus among Ram fans seems to be we need edge desperately, and I'm not sure.
I agree.
Yeah,
I think we need another. I don't think it's a bad situation at edge as much as people think.
Right.
But you definitely need another rotational player in there at minimum. Gabriel Murphy is a player that's going to have a lot of value because if this winds up being accurate, which I don't think it is, I think he's going to go higher than this. I really do. I've seen him anywhere from 99 to like 120. Gabriel Murphy has a lot of value in that middle area in this draft. So he's going to be interesting. All right, let's take a look at my selections for everyone at home. As you can see, even we went Big Bang Theory, went with Brian Thomas early. Look what I still did not hurt our defense. We got probably a top 4 defensive tackle in this draft. I would argue probably right after Iron Byron, Chris Jenkins is the best defensive tackle in this draft. He's one of my favorites. Adisa Isaac is the top 5 edge rushers. There's no question here. Right after Braswell, Jared Verse, Chop. I just think he's a great player. Let's take a look now. After going wide receiver early, let's show everybody at home. Let's hit all. And let's see how we were still able to walk away with a lot of help for our defense. Oh, and look at this. Talk about a gift. All right. Brandon Dorlus still sitting there if we wanted a penetrating defensive tackle. And let's see if we can help our secondary a little bit. We can go corner. So either way, we could go corner or we could go safety. You got DJ James there. You know what? I'm gonna build a strength for this team. I think Dorlus from the back side. There you go. Bingo. Hit that. There's your 4 linemen. You got Jenkins, Dorlus, Bobby Brown, and the conductor. I think you can make do with those 4 right there. Bingo.
So Dorlus, they list him as an edge. You call him a defensive tackle. Are we thinking more like a 5 technique? Is he going to be limited to defensive end 5 technique, or you see him playing inside?
I could see him doing the 3. Yeah, absolutely. The way he played in Oregon. Remember the way they play in Oregon is very similar to a 3-4 front. He did a great job. He's really, really good at penetrating. So I think the 3, the 5, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't think he could play nose, but then that's exactly what we want. We just talked about that. So when Bobby Brown comes out, Dorlus goes into the rotation alongside Chris Jenkins and the conductor, and they're your 3. They're your three linemen. And you got plenty of pass rush from Monster Zero, and now with Adisa Isaac on the other side.
Okay, we'll get this started again. Keep this moving.
So what do you think? Wide receiver didn't work out into such a bad scenario, did it?
No. I'd like to do one. Well, we'll see how it plays out. I still feel like second, third round could be a sweet spot for a wide receiver as well.
Let's do it. All right.
Yeah.
Let's do it. I agree.
I mean, start elsewhere and see what falls to you. I don't want to box you into a corner that you have to draft the wide receivers. So far, to summarize, the first 2 picks, first mock draft, we went edge offensive tackle, and then we went wide receiver defensive tackle. And now I don't know what you want to do, but let's get it started.
All right, so let's take a look. Brock Bowers.
I wanted to comment that for some reason in these mocks, McKinstry and DeJean are going really early. I don't know if that's a reflection of something that happened that I'm unaware of, but they were going late first. McKinstry, I think, was going in the second, and now all of a sudden they're in the top 15. So I don't know what's up with that. Just keep that in mind when we see what's on the board available to us. There's a couple of guys up here that probably will not be there in the real draft. But what are you thinking? You've gone, you started out edge and then wide receiver were the first picks, the first 2 drafts. What do you want to do this time?
And you wanted to see if wide receiver in the second round. So what I have been doing is taking a wide receiver in the second round, going heavily on a superstar player, whether it's left tackle, verse, Iron Byron in the round 1, and then seeing where I could find that Big Bang Theory at wide receiver that McVay's probably looking for. Look, the Rams have been held back by their inability to go for wide. Let's be honest. So I think that's why McVay desperately wants to get this other receiver. So let's take a look at wide receiver for a second. I want to see how much we have in terms of remaining talent. And we look good. So let's see that. Look at Xavier, the X-Man. He's sitting there at 49. He's just screaming, McVay, come on, take me. So I think a lot of people who are shying away from him, look, I mean, the kid can play football. There's no question about it. Keon Coleman, I think, is going to slide back. And honestly, even Troy Franklin, the kid's a speedster, man. He could really I don't think the Rams have had a receiver with that type of speed factor and that type of length in a very, very long time.
Yeah, you compared him to Isaac Bruce. Didn't you compare him? Was he the one you compared to Isaac Bruce?
Yeah, I mean, Isaac Bruce is one of one.
Yeah,
I'm just saying that the way that build and the way he runs, just that ability to take the ball vertical. He reminded me, he had a lot of those type of elements. Just interesting when I was watching. I was like, holy cow, and Ladd McConkey, everybody here at Rams Up loves Ladd McConkey. And round 2, pulling the trigger on this kid, no brainer. So let's
he won't
do this.
Be there at 52 though, right?
Yeah, I doubt it. But you never know. Listen, Look, people get enamored with speed. A lot of these speed receivers might get moved up, and this kid who's just, you know what? He's open all the time, and people are criticizing him. They're like, he can only play out of the slot. But listen, if you get a slot receiver that's always open, I don't know. It's not such a bad thing. The question is, where would he play? Because we know we still have King Cup on the roster.
Right.
So that becomes a big question. All right, so let's go round one, and let's see how we're going to attack this. How about we do this? Let's take Fashanu. Let's take our left tackle of the future, who I think is a great prospect, and let's see how it plays out.
Now, Fashanu, doubtful that he's really going to be there, but for argument's sake, if it's not Fashanu, it's the Washington kid, Troy. Their last names are so similar.
Well, I think they are. I think they're selling that kid short by saying he can only play guard. That kid can play left tackle. There's no question about it. That kid,
so
he was a leader.
Guys.
Yep, he was a leader on that offensive line in Washington. If you watch him play, that kid can play, and his arms are just like, his wingspan's incredible. And there you go, Mark. That's what you wanted. This is what I've been doing at home. Last couple of mocks. The X-Men has been there every single time. Let's pull the trigger.
Now, before you do that, let's take a quick look here. Braden
We'll
Fisk.
be okay.
Yeah,
we'll
okay.
Be okay.
Okay, you can tell I'm worried about that position, can't you? Okay, we're going to take a look at. And I have seen other Rams fans picking Leggett for the Rams in the second round. So it's not. And
Keon Coleman actually fell back a couple times. Now, what Mark has pointed out is exactly right. When we're doing this, we're not necessarily doing this to say this is the order we're going to go in. Now, what have we learned? That if we went D tackle early, so Ram Nation, if we went D tackle early, that gives us the luxury of taking a wide receiver in round 2. You see how they complement each other? The picks start to complement one another, so you don't necessarily hurt yourself in one particular situation. And Mark, there you go. Look who's still available to us. There you go. Rukaroro. Do it.
Let's see. We got Rook in the 3rd round. Was that right?
Yeah, that's very unlikely. But hey, listen, it is mock. By the way, Marshawn Neeland was there when we were just looking. If you go back to all for a second, I was watching it as we were making the pick. If he wasn't there, Neeland would not have been a bad pick either if we had gone with Marshawn. I like Marshawn Neeland. I think he could hold down one of the D tackle spots. Absolutely. Let's hit the player list. Now we're going to close out with a bang. We got our D tackle. Let's see. Ideally would be to go edge. And we see Jonah Ellis sitting there. All right. We see Brandon Dorless sitting there. We could still build up our D line. Let's hit all again, Mark. Let's see what we got. Mark, what do you think about corner? Let's take a look at corner. I think we've been neglecting corner in our last couple of drafts. So Ram Nation, we could go either way. We could go with corner here, or we could go with edge here. I think we would be fine. Either way, we'd walk away with our top 4. I would say with the depth at edge lacking, you would probably have to go edge. You know, look at Murphy, because you know why I'm looking. Murphy's already gone after Ellis. You would probably be left with Javon Solomon, who I think still a great player. So I think you would have to go with Jonah Ellis.
Okay, let's do it.
Now,
I don't know much about. I don't know what type of receiver. Tell us a little bit more about Leggett.
So Leggett's a very polarizing receiver. He's had one really solid breakout year in college. He had a phenomenal year, but you know the background is really interesting. So he was in a bad motorcycle accident, chewed up 1 year. He's really struggled with injuries, but he's just physically when you just look at him, you're just like, wow, he's really put together. Great hands, great at jump ball scenarios, needs to work on running routes, really raw, a real project. But Mark, doesn't that make sense? We got our big 3 already sitting there in our receiver room. The 4th receiver that we're developing who can go out and play, who is physical, who can block. I mean, the guy is just a machine when you watch him out there. He looks like a cyborg.
So we went offense, defense. So
now,
the first one, go ahead.
Everybody at Ram Nation, everyone can probably tell I have not taken any one of my favorite picks early on, right? I've tried to be very logical and reasonable and try to make sense of this. Iron Byron, everybody knows if Iron Byron is there, I'm pulling the trigger on Iron Byron. But he opens up a world of possibilities down the road. So
we've mocked him to the Rams a few times. So
yeah, we just wanted to illustrate all the different possibilities that are out there. And now you can see why this is valuable, because you can see the trickle-down effect it has in terms of the depth at certain positions. There is not a lot of that D-line in this draft. There is not. People have to be aware of that. There is not a lot of depth at D tackle. There is not a lot of depth at O tackle, especially on the left side in this draft. Those are two areas where it is extremely, extremely light. Where is there a lot of depth in this draft? Well, wide receiver. There's a lot of depth at wide receiver in this draft. So that is why playing wide receiver in round 2 makes a lot of sense, because it is much more viable.
So go trenches early and come back and get your skill guys a little bit later.
Edge is also very light, Mark. So the other thing, Ram Nation at home, remember that edge is very light, super light. So you got to be careful. So edge and D tackle, unfortunately for the Rams, that sort of plays their hand, right? Because they don't have the luxury of waiting in those two arenas, because that's where they need the most help.
Okay, this last one, let's do one more. And this is the one I am going to start this.
You want to do the trade back?
Right. We'll trade back here, and we'll wait till we get to the 19th pick, and then we will see what trades pop up. If we don't like any of them, we'll offer. I think the Dallas one is one you liked, right? Do you want this one? Or
let's go see what else we got. We got 6 offers. Let's see what else we got. Go to the arrow. How about we do this one? How about we're only doing 3? Show me Kansas City again. So if we did this one, could we make the extra pick in the second round? Let's do it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Let's do it. All right. Let's take a look.
Let's see. Let me just take a look and see what we have here.
Wow.
So we have, we picked up that 64th pick.
Gives us 5 picks in the top 100 mark. 5 picks.
Now, I think this is a more realistic list of what will be available in this scenario. I think it's a realistic list. But what are you thinking?
All right, so let's see. Let's go right to D-line.
Now, before we signed Jonah Jackson and brought back Kevin Dotson, you were all over Jackson Powers Johnson.
Still JPJ. Yeah, I think whoever gets JPJ, man, you're very lucky. Kid's a baller. No question about it. Kid's a baller. Look, you got another left tackle in there, Jordan Morgan. Good value. Scroll down. There's Braswell. There's Leggett. Oh, we got a lot of value. All right, you got Newton that's sitting right there too. So, Mark, what are your thoughts? You want to go wide receiver first, or you want to grab that D tackle first?
Well, I know I like Byron Murphy more than Newton, but Newton's not too shabby.
Not at all.
I'd feel really good about checking that box, like you said. If we pass on him, we're not going to feel good about our options later on, I don't think.
All right, AD Mitchell, a lot of people feel this kid is a legit number 1 and number 2 wide receiver. One of the things that stands out to me, there were times where he didn't really break tackles or yak up as many yards as I would like. However, one thing I will say about AD Mitchell, you have to give the kid credit for. Every big game for Texas, he showed up. So that's just one thing to keep in mind. But I think we should go with Juice Newton. Yeah, let's do it. All right, there's your D tackle. As everybody, for those of you that don't know the scouting report on him out at Illinois, the kid did work. He was considered to be right behind Iron Byron in terms of that type of 3 technique, defensive tackle, but good enough to play the run. All right, Mark.
Did he play along? Hold on one second. There's another. So he played alongside Keith Randolph,
yeah.
Right?
They call them the law firm.
Oh, okay.
The law firm is Newton and Randolph.
Oh, there you go. Okay, so we got defensive line checked, and what are you thinking here?
All right, let's take a look. You want to hit wide receiver? Let's see who we got. Let's see what happens.
Ricky Pearsall, man, is
Ricky Pearsall with Sean Franklin.
Yeah,
but you see this is what I mean about being overvalued, Mark. So take a look. These wide receivers being ranked at 39 and 52. They're great wide receivers, but 39 and 52 seems awfully high. Let's take a look at D-line again and edge. And you got Rook sitting there. And this is what we did last time. Remember we went 2 D tackles and really changed the complexion of our defense? So look at that depth. Yeah. So there's a possibility there. And there's your edge. And there's Adisa Isaac popping up again. Mad Max Melton.
Never draft a player from Rutgers, Paul. We've
Rutgers, baby. Rutgers. All right. And then what do you think about O-tackle? Let's just see who anybody slipped down to. Like, there's Paul again. So you see some consistent players. Mark, I think if we were really, really doing this, I just think the value at D tackle right now is just off the charts. And the only other wide receiver would be probably either Franklin or Pearsall, obviously. Which way are you leaning?
Well, I'm not a fan of drafting Sweat. We discussed that a little bit. Michael Hall Jr., Rook, getting good value there at, well, actually, that's about where they belong, 52nd pick.
Anybody thrill you at wide receiver enough to pull the trigger?
Well, I mean, I did. I was really leaning towards Ricky Pearsall, but you talked me out of it. So, yeah, let me think here. We've got defensive line. I don't know if, let me think here.
And you also have edge. Look, you got Edge Coop sitting there.
Yeah. You know, I'd consider drafting Patrick Paul at this point, to be honest with you.
Look at you, sensible person over there looking at offensive tackle.
Yeah. I don't know. I've drafted him. He's one that I know a little bit more about. That's not to say that some of these other guys aren't worthy of getting drafted as well.
So you're okay with taking a second round pick like we've been talking about for a player that's not immediately to contribute, but for next year is going to be like a huge plus for the Rams.
Well, yeah, and I'm still really concerned about the depth along the offensive line. I mean, what happened a couple years ago? It all goes to crap if a couple of guys go down, you know? Yeah. It all goes to crap. I don't care who we draft on defense or at wide receiver, secondary. It doesn't matter. You know, we got right now our backups are, I talked about it in a recent podcast. The only offensive linemen that I think could step in right now are Noteboom and maybe Warren McClendon. Not even sure about that.
Let's do it. Let's do Patrick Paul. For everybody at home, these are some we're trying things that normally we would not go in certain directions. So that's why this is so important, right? As the Rams scenario has evolved, we want to see what is going to be the healthiest scenario for the Rams. So you're learning with us in real time. Let's take a look at Paul.
I think that season a couple of years ago really traumatized me. You know, I used to be the first one to say the Rams offensive line is fine. You know, it's better than you think. And then now I've come full circle. I really feel we need 8 offensive linemen that you can count on.
And the Rams have invested a lot of money in their own line. They've invested a lot of money.
So why not bring in a second round pick that's going to be on a rookie contract that, you know, by midseason could step in potentially and, fill in for somebody.
And theoretically, you have him for 3 years, right? Yep.
Right. So back to you. What are you doing here?
Let's take a look at all. Okay. Just a quick reminder at home. Let's take a look at our picks so we could show everybody at home what direction we've gone on so far. Right. We got the trenches. We went trenches early. Now let's see if it pays off. So this is the bonus. So right here is going to make or break if this trade was worth its weight in gold. So getting the second best defensive tackle in the draft with a trade back, Mark, we're already ahead of the game. So let's see.
You said, trenches were where the draft was not as deep as other positions, and we hit defensive line, offensive line.
And let's take a look. All right. Mark, wow, you got lucky, buddy. Take a look at number 59.
You going to take another defensive lineman?
Yep.
Is that your pick?
Let's go D-line. Let's go Michael Hall Jr. For those of you at home, Michael Hall Jr. the kid is quick off the ball. He's a penetrating defensive tackle from Ohio State. They used him believe it or not, Mark, they used him at the nose this year. Okay. This is a kid that if you took him off of the 0 and the 1 and you let him play, man, this kid is going to be he's going to spend most of his time in the backfield. He's just a great fit for the Rams, opposite the conductor. Both of the left end and right end would be taken care of. All right, very good.
You know, that Max Melton's just jumping off the screen at me.
Mark, I like the way you think. Let's do Max Melton. A cornerback of that value, bingo. Here we go. Mad Max Melton. Let the draft come to you. And Mark, you will get rewarded because now you can take Adisa Isaac. There's your edge player. And Mark, this trade back, like I told you.
Yeah, I was just looking at it. I was looking at what we've added so far. Man, we have really pumped up our defense. And I was just taking a quick look at linebacker.
Yep.
And then
take a look at edge, and there you go. Hit Adisa Isaac. Look, every time I have done the trade back always came out light years ahead of just standing pat.
Look at this. I think if you trade back, you pretty much have to go trenches with that first pick. I'm thinking
you have
maybe
to.
Not. Yeah,
you have to, or you have to go edge early.
Yeah, one of those.
But
three
if you
positions.
trade back, Mark, let's think this through for a second. Now, this is why I like the trade back. If that 32 was a wide receiver, you could still go defensive tackle, edge, defensive tackle, somewhere in there, and walk away with 2 tackles and an edge player. But look at the flexibility we now have. And that 52, listen, Mark, you use that 52 to really solidify something for next year as well as depth for this year. So 52 very easily could have been those wide receivers we said that were falling back. Look at how much flexibility the trade back gives us because of that extra pick in the top 100. Having 5 picks in the top 100 makes a huge difference, right?
It's pretty easy for me to say right now that this is my preferred result. The bummer on the other ones is missing out on the others is you miss out on probably 3 marquee players. There are 3 guys with really high ceilings, Verse, Brian Thomas, and Fashanu. But then again, you're bringing in 5 guys that are almost for sure going to be an impact. So, and what's the drop off from Fashanu to Patrick Paul?
It's significant, though. Fashanu's that good.
Yeah, okay.
Fashanu's that good.
So that's something to consider. That's something to consider. Maybe Patrick Paul's going to end up being your right tackle of the future as opposed to your left tackle. But
already downside to that for the Havenstein monster who eventually might move on, right? So there you go. That's another scenario, Mark. Now you don't have to worry about it. You have someone in-house. It's plug and play moving forward. And I think what this has shown us more so than anything, and for those of you at Ram Nation, don't get caught up on who we walked away with, is that look at the number of options now the Rams have in comparison to the early part of these mocks, simply because of these 5 quarterbacks now that have found their way into round 1 and early in round 1. It has improved the Rams' position in terms of that first round scenario and how it plays into the second round as well, the dominoes as they fall. It has improved the Rams scenario significantly, in my opinion, without question. And the Rams don't have to trade back to 32, is that the Rams trading back even 3 or 4 spots and picking up another pick, right, really gives the Rams tremendous flexibility. And I think for me, unless at 19 it's just a slam dunk and whoever falls back, I think the Rams should, unless like somebody like, for example, I think Verse, not that Verse is any better than all of the other players that we've been talking about. It's just that at edge, it's so light in this draft. It's so incredibly light that when you have that opportunity, you have to take advantage of it. So that's the one thing I will say. Now, one of these wide receivers falling back into the second round, to me, is very, very likely, Mark. I think if the Rams are legitimately looking to go wide receiver, if they're patient in wide receiver for round 2, they can definitely walk away with an impact wide receiver, particularly somebody like Leggett. I think Leggett's going to be there. I think Coleman has a legitimate chance of falling back too.
Yeah, I feel like the Rams have made a concerted effort over the last year to get bigger, stronger, nastier on both sides of the ball, and that may dictate how they go too. It's just going to be so much fun that Thursday and Friday. Oh man, I can't wait.
And if you look where the Rams have spent their money, Mark, what does it tell you? They spent their money at guard, which is really surprising, right? Especially that left guard signing, right? When they went, were you surprised by that left guard signing when they pulled the trigger on that? I mean, we knew they were going to bring back the big boy, but then when they went with that left guard, I was like, that caught me off guard. I was like, wow, that's a lot of money, and they did overpay a little, but you have no choice, right? And I'm like, wow, that means they're all in with these two tackles, Alaric Jackson and the Hammerstein Monster, right? That they feel comfortable rolling with these two because they spent their money at guard. Avila's a rock. Avila's a rock in the middle. Let's just say that. He's a rock in the middle. So I think they're comfortable with O-line. I think this draft, they're going to go skill positions. Now, corner, I definitely think they're going to take a corner. Absolutely, they're going to take a corner. There's no question. Corner or safety, they're going to go bigger at corner or safety than they've ever gone before. They're going to get a talented player. Why? They need to get big plays out of their secondary. They did not get nearly enough turnovers last year. Ram Nation, look at who they brought back. Darius Williams. Look at White. These guys are known for getting those big picks. They're going to do the same thing at safety. I think they're going to bring in a safety. I think they're going to go young, and they're going to get this high bang value at some of these skill positions like wide receiver, corner/safety, edge, get those sacks, get those big hits on the quarterback, D-line. I think that's what they're looking for. They're going to look for those kind of players that can deliver big blows when the Rams need them to.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. I have no idea which direction the Rams are going to go. I really don't. But this is a lot of fun trying to, take a look at it. What would we do? What makes sense? Trying the different approaches and see where the chips fall. It's a good time. Good time to be a Rams fan. It's been a while since we've been able to look forward like this to an NFL draft. So yeah, it's going to be fun. Well, Paul, this has been a good exercise. We'll do it again. We got to think of something different to do next time. Mix it up a little bit. Maybe do the same thing. Try another 4 approaches. I'll keep these saved off, and we'll revisit. And I'm sure we're going to do a roundtable Tuesday night. I think that's the plan.
And I think things will clarify a little. Things will clarify a little bit more as we get closer to the draft. I think the 5 quarterback teams, I think, are pretty clear. Who's desperately needs a quarterback, and I think the trades are going to happen not just early, but in the middle round of the draft. Because as teams start jockeying forward, there are going to be teams that are going to say, "Well, look, there's a player that's within reach that we never thought would be within reach," just like we've been talking about. So the Rams in 19 are going to have a great pick to sort of play around with and offer to other teams. And as the teams move up, the Rams will start reaping the benefits. So it's been exciting.
Yeah, and I think people, it's easy to say, hey, let's move up and grab one of these guys, grab one of, Rome Odunze or whoever, Dallas Turner. But it's, you're giving up a lot. You got to give up a lot. And I'm not sure I want to go there for my Rams. I'd rather they either sit tight or trade back.
Jared Verse is going to get put. If Jared Verse gets pushed down to like 15 or 16 and the Rams are sitting in 19, Snead, make that move. Grab this kid. Yeah,
moving up a couple of picks.
Yep, grab this kid.
That's not as bad. But, if you think you're going to move up to number 12, it's going to hurt your draft haul big time.
And remember, Mark, when we did that, when we moved up, we only moved up a couple of picks. And look at our draft, how it turned out. It was phenomenal.
Yeah. Okay, Paul, I'll let you go. Thanks a lot. It's been fun. We'll do it again. And hopefully I'll see you Tuesday-ish for our next roundtable.
Absolutely. Listen, rally around the Ramley. Let's go. 2-4. Let's bring it home. Bring another trophy home in 2-4.
Okay. Out here. We'll see ya. That's going to do it for this episode. Remember, you can reach us at ramsuppodcast@gmail.com. And don't forget about our YouTube channel. Our handle is at laramsup.com. Till next time, keep the horns up, stay safe, and have fun out there.